Good afternoon and welcome to the January 18th meeting of the City of Coos Bay Parks Commission. We are going to go ahead and start off with a roll call. I don't see anybody online, so we'll start off at the end down there.
Lance Knoll, Transportation Facility.
Thank you.
Greg Hamblett, City of Coos Bay.
Coco Sutton, Parks Commissioner.
Bill Davis, Parks Commissioner.
Ariane Lyons, Parks Commission. And I would like to welcome Eric and Kurt, and they are now part of our Parks Commission. So let's give a yay, warm welcome. Yeah. Do you want to just take a short minute and just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about you? Okay, that's perfect.
Just real quick, if I may, in order to hear online, make sure you hit the green light on your microphone is on and we can hear you.
There you go.
Wow, between that and the Chromebook, I'm in trouble. I can see that right now.
We'll remind you.
All right, hey, thanks. I'm excited to be on the Parks Commission. I've lived in Coos Bay for over 35 plus years, used all the parks. My kids have used the parks. My grandkids have used the parks. I'm an avid cyclist, and a couple of meetings that I've attended here with all of you, I was so impressed with your enthusiasm that I thought, gosh, what a wonderful group to try to work with. Work background, I'll leave off all the summer jobs and all of that sort of stuff. I got a degree from Central Washington University in Ellsworth. It was in biological sciences and chemistry, so maybe I can bring a little bit of that to the natural resources part of our parks. I worked for the Social Security Administration for a really long time. I was the manager of the office here, but I worked in other positions too, including in our regional office, facilities management. So I became involved in contracts and buildings and maintenance and properties. So that gives me a little bit of background as well. So that's it.
Thank you and welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Eric?
Okay, yeah, my name is Eric Clough, and I live in Coos Bay here, moved here in 2001, I believe it was, and I am, well, I'm retired currently, but I work every day now that I'm retired with Front Street Community Bike Works. So I'm the founder and president of that citizens group, and became interested in joining the Parks Commission because of the needs we have in our community for cycling and pedestrian infrastructure stuff. So I got really excited about that, and I got a lot of support behind me with the friends of the bike shop and all our volunteers and participants. And so when there was an opening available, I thought, oh, I probably should try to do what I can to contribute to pushing this forward, as well as all the other work of the Parks Commission. I live right next door to Mingus Park, so on a daily basis I'm exposed to that park, which is probably our crown jewel, if you will. So yeah, that's a little about me.
Okay. Thank you so much. We welcome you to the board. And we'll continue with roll call on down through the end.
Jennifer Wersing, City of Coos Bay.
And Amy Edmonds, City of Coos Bay.
All right. Thank you so much. We have opening for public comment.
Do you have a public comment? I don't mean to be rude, but I'm probably going to leave before 5. This has been a lovely day for meetings.
You mean you can't stay till 5 o'clock?
Well, no, probably not. OBAB had a second Saturday event. We had a very good turnout. 7 yards of stuff, probably closer to about 10. The person who was doing the estimating was kind of, I think, just counting what his truck hauled. Over 40 people. Weather was, quote, terrible. Only one negative comment on social media that we've noticed, and we do kind of track those. A couple of other things going on. The next second Saturday is, again, at Toppets. That's in February. We've lined up 30 trees, which we have to go through the tree board and get approval for. They're going to be Sitka spruce, and they're probably going to go down on the Ackerman end of the park. They're seedlings. They're only about this tall in the roots. And that's through Coos Watershed. We worked out a deal with them. We have some things going on this summer, which is one of the reasons that I'm going to cut you guys short. We're not sure how much AYA time we'll be able to put in that park this summer, and we'll have most of that pinned down in the next 30 days or so. What happened with that, just to be real simple, 2 and 3 people volunteered to supervise kids. You have to have a background check. You have to be able to transport them. And those kids received a stipend. They were getting paid, but they had to have adult supervision. So we did quite a bit with those kids, and if the funding's available and we can come up with a volunteer supervision, then we're looking forward to doing that again. City's been very helpful with the stuff that we've been doing to date. Some real simple glaring things came up. When we did those things this summer, the people that we approached, a lot of them didn't know that there was no camping in that park. There's no signs up, at least none that I've noticed that are, just say no overnight camping. Because a lot of times, because we were in there so much, we would go through an area and not notice something, and the next day it'd be something, and go down and ask them, hey, what's up? Do you know you can't camp here? No, I just came from XYZ, not here, and I didn't know that. Well, you need to go talk to the Deveno Center, and they're going to tell you the rules on camping and what streets and where and all that jazz, but this isn't it. Did have several comments, and we've sent correspondence to the city engineer about getting a forester to evaluate that park in terms of fire load and also soil compaction, because you have some areas there that have been heavily abused and really nothing native grows because the ground's been trampled so hard. And what projects may be done to overcome that, I don't know. But I have a feeling that a forester's going to go through and say, well, you need to possibly do these things. And the fire load. The fire load is a concern of the surrounding neighborhoods, and it's come up more than once. And I realize the city has said, no, we don't have that much of a fire load. Yet the city purchased a brush truck specifically to go into that park, okay, because there had been so many fires in the past. Special, smaller fire truck, okay? And then the last part of this, which is being an Oregonian, and Coco and I are probably the only 2 real Oregonians floating around on this board, okay?
I'm a real Oregonian.
All right. When we have a red flag and something starts burning, the contract crews that put that out aren't here. They've already left most of the time for somewhere else. Roseburg, Southern Oregon, Central Oregon, Eastern Oregon. We get a red flag day, and we get them very infrequently, and that's a day when you light a match and it burns your finger before you can shake it. That's how dry it is, and it does happen here, okay? You need to be conscious of fire load in that park, because you're only going to have what engine companies you have here, and if there's something burning on the Coos River, one of them may be up there defending a house, okay? It's not like you can call Sutter Creek and get 150 guys to run hand lines. It doesn't work that way anymore. All right, so that's something that needs to be considered when we're managing that open space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Push the button. So the second Saturday, is that February the 10th, if I'm
Yeah,
looking right?
it should be February 10th.
Yeah, what time and where?
It is 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock check-in. It's 1 to 3. Check-ins will probably be at the Upper Lakes parking lot on Hall Street. And we're on Facebook, and we have a website. So you can hit Facebook and the website if anything changes. Most events are rain or shine. The only thing that we'll call them is exceptionally high wind or smoke.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So, Jim, I appreciate your comments, and I understand exactly where you're coming from in regards to the fire load. And we talked about this at the last Parks Commission meeting. We also did have I did reach out to the fire chief after that last Parks Commission meeting and did ask the question, whether there was some concerns about there are campfires or warming fires that do take place in there. And I think the purpose of that bush truck was to respond to those type of fires, which they have in the past and they will continue to do so in the future. His stance on it, again, still was the risk of a large, widespread fire happening inside of John Toppet's Park is minimal. But just in case, we do have that brush truck to respond to those. The fire department does respond to those calls when they receive them. I've not had an experience yet to where they have not responded to a call. They may have to prioritize calls. You're absolutely correct. Limited resources, and they respond as soon as they can to those issues. My understanding, or I have not been told, that there's been a blaze fire that was uncontrolled outside of these warming fires that were responded to in a timely manner to put them out. But what I will do between now and the next Parks Commission meeting is I'll reach out to the dispatch where all of the emergency 911 calls come into and get a count of how many calls the fire responded to for fires, warming fires in the park. Because I do think it's important that we maintain that facility and protect it. So I'll reach out, I'll get that data and present it at the next Parks Commission meeting. As far as compaction testing inside John Toppet's, unless we have a specific area in mind, and maybe we can get together after this to kind of discuss that. I mean, it's a big park to go out and do a spot compaction test and would be, kind of looking for that needle in the haystack that I don't think we'll ever find. But I'd be happy to meet up with you and get that information. So appreciate all the fine work that OBAB does and AYA. We're going to miss them this year. Hopefully we can, move some resources to get that volunteer group back in there. But OBAB staff was just amazed during that rain event that we had on Saturday. The amount of people that showed up and the amount of debris that was pulled out of there, I really do appreciate it. So I hope I can continue to address your concerns. I keep bringing them because they're important, but we'll try and get you those answers that you're looking for.
Thank you, Greg. And then one comment also additionally on the signage. I know that as a commission, we're going to have to, as soon as some legislation is finalized, evaluate some of our park signage to update with some things that changed in July of this year. But also looking at our signage in general, we've done that a few times over the years. The no camping is definitely some signage we need to look at, as well as making sure that some of our signage is updated to whatever legislation decides our current verbiage needs to be for park use.
So, thank you, you're absolutely right. And I was taking notes as fast as I could. As far as no camping in park signs, I asked staff to look, I thought we've already posted those signs at the entrances to the parks. We're gonna look at them again. We did have a post on the lower Ackerman Road. The overhead sign was damaged with a hit and run accident. That sign might have been on that post, and we removed it, and so we might have to just readdress that sign. But we'll make sure that the camping ordinance is placed, sign is put up. And I thought we had those up already, but when the camping ordinance came down a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I thought we placed those at that time. So we'll verify that and get those signs posted.
And I think a bucket list item as we're going through and looking at signage and some updates that we're going to have to do legislation-wise later this year, just evaluating park entrance locations and making sure that each entrance to John Topics has the no camping sign, not just our main entrance. Many people are coming in on foot and perhaps are walking on paths that aren't our main vehicular entrance. So, but all good points. All right, we're going to move on down to action items. Annual election for chair and vice chairperson. I think this is the first time that we've actually done an election without being told.
Well, yeah, I think
I was
it's,
voluntold that I was the chair, I don't know, what, 6 years ago?
I think it's important, and the vice chair is not here, so it could be just an easy vote. So the Parks Commission rules is defined in Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 2.30.040, Officers' Meetings, Rules, and Procedures. Item 1, the commission members, by majority vote, shall elect a chairperson and vice chairperson for a one-year term at the beginning of each year, and may re-elect the incumbent. The chairperson shall preside over the commission meetings and retain the right to vote. The vice chairperson shall preside in the chairperson's absence. If it pleases the commission and the current chair and vice chair would like to remain in these positions, the commission can re-elect the same commissioners. The 2023 chair and vice chair were Ariane Lyons as the chair and Carmen Matthews as the vice chair. So at this point, staff is requesting by majority vote, the commission nominate and vote a chairperson and vice chairperson. This will be a one-year term.
Jamie?
I would like to move that we re-elect the current chair and vice chair from 2023.
I would like to second, this is Coco Sutton.
All right, I have a first from Jamie, a second from Coco. I will abstain from the vote, except for, I'll vote for Carmen, but I won't vote for me. So I'll abstain. But any further discussion? All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and congratulations, Chair
Thank
and
you.
Vice Chair Matthews.
Do we get a gold watch if we do like 25 years? Because I think some people are getting close to that.
Can spray paint.
25 long years.
All right, moving on down to item B, the Sharrow's discussion. I think because this agenda was a little on the light side, we wanted to add a few further discussion into overall bike, the component piece that is somewhat new to the Parks Commission, but was told that we are a part of it, is the bike component piece. So I kind of wanted to open it up and have a little bit of history or information provided on what has been done in the past regarding this and then moving forward. Or if we're not available for that, then just talk about Sharrow's.
So can you just expand on your question? We want history on what?
What has been done, has there been groups involved in this bike path component piece before? Do we have bike maps? Like what resources do we have
Sure.
since I was gonna say part of the commission's a little in the dark on this topic.
So I know Amy sent out an email, and if anybody did not get it, please let me know, for our transportation system plan. She specifically showed you the excerpts on bicycle and pedestrians. And so that is our overall master plan. So that's pretty much the go-to for us. Coco, you have a question?
Yeah, the transportation, I think it's like TPP, I think.
TSP.
TSP, right. That plan was very good at indicating, but the last meeting we had, you also shared not only things that were here, but you showed examples of things that had been used in the past. So those are the resources that are still on this. I'm looking at the document here that's attached. So we're looking at the same things, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
What page
so
are
there's
you on?
nothing new is what I'm asking. I
There
guess.
is nothing
Okay,
new,
thank you.
no.
So I would just like to open it up to the commissioners for any discussion moving forward on the bike component piece of the Parks Commission in general. See if people have specific questions or information that they would like gathered, and continue forward with that. Coco?
Yes, Coco Sutton. On our last Parks Commission meeting in December, we had a very great presentation and a lot of people here that were doing the public presentations for having some type of mechanism, whether it was a sharrows or dedicated bike lanes, et cetera. And having looked over the information that was sent to us and being cognizant, and I think this was something that was brought up at the last meeting, and you're probably a good time to reiterate, whether you speak to Oregon Department of Transportation at any given time, their waxing and waning on ability of resources, whether it be individuals or funding, are very narrow. We are now in a cold snap that has resulted in the governor calling on what she calls an emergency declaration for certain counties. We know that there's a shortage of equipment, and we know that ODOT's funding is being mitigated daily by as long as fires and cold things impact the major highways. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I really liked the opportunity for us to explore putting your toe in the water and getting a dedicated sharrows type corridor downtown started with the breakout groups so that we could have those presentations and define that. And then later, once you get more data and information for people using those, look at those points where you cross Coos Bay rail line and you cross Highway 101 and look for specific grants, which ODOT has some. I think I forwarded one to Jamie Faraday that I signed up on the ODOT. There's a feed you can sign up for, and they have certain grants that only come out at certain times. But a lot of them are particular to something that you already have, and you're asking for resources from ODOT's expertise in engineering and funding to mitigate accidents or incidents at those points. So I am really excited that this is, happening, but I'd like to see us start at some point so that we can get that in place and then continue that conversation with our partners to see if there's areas where we're tracking incidents, because that's how ODOT usually functions, is we have an amount of incidents or accidents involving pedestrians or bicycles or multimodal. So that's my comment, but I think this is I wanted to thank everyone that did all the hard work on presenting that documents to us.
We can certainly pull police reports for any location that you want. They're always really good at that. They keep very good records. But to ODOT and the funding opportunities, there specifically is a carbon reduction program coming up here very soon. The application window is March 1st through May 31st. And bicycle facilities is right on there as an eligible project. Where staff needs some guidance is we have this, and I hopefully you guys, I'm not trying to be against any one project. We're a little spread thin here. We got this, we have the scout cabin, we have the Mingus bathrooms that we were potentially going for. Now we have an issue with the pool boiler, and they may need some assistance. So there's only so many areas that we can go to. And so we're fine to do whatever you direct us to do. It's just, I want you to maybe keep that in mind. And the pool issue has really thrown us for a loop.
On a side note, for information later, can somebody tell me when that boiler was replaced? That was a question earlier. We don't have to answer that right now. We could go back to.
Well, yeah, I can provide that information. 7 years ago is when it was replaced.
Okay. I lost it. Has there been any preliminary budget impact numbers done for this project?
Cheryl's project?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. And primarily because we've not had the staff time to look at it.
Well, we're kind of looking for a recommendation on one of the alternatives. The Cheryl Committee provided a recommendation for you. And once that happens, we can throw some preliminary numbers at it. We've got some ODOT estimates. We can definitely do that.
Yes.
Not quite sure how to engage, or raise
Yeah,
your
you
hand,
just-
or
you
just
just-
chime in.
You can throw something at me, either
Okay.
way is cool.
So there has been quite a bit of work done, and I guess for purposes of our discussion, it seems like this is just kind of a general discussion right now, is that there are a couple different paths we're going down, I think, and one is this Sharrows project that we've talked about, and at the last meeting, we did recommend that the committee that had reviewed those and worked on that kind of came to a conclusion of a preferred alternative one. So that's one path, and I think that's what Jennifer was just alluding to, is that we're kind of ready to take the next steps on that, and probably cost estimates are probably at least one of those next steps. And if I could mix in there another comment regarding, kind of touching on what Coco was talking about, the connections with ODOT. ODOT has a lot of different programs that potentially bring funding to things like cycling infrastructure. There are municipalities throughout the state that have, spent a lot of time and effort and money developing their cycling infrastructure. So there isn't just one pot of money out there. There's lots of different ways to get funding. And I intend, and have already done some homework in researching that. So I intend, with my hat on here as a commissioner, and with my other hat as the bike shop president and the community organization group, I intend to help continue to source out funds and help with cost estimates and the planning of all that. When I did the presentation at the last meeting, you may remember that I was really trying to make a point of, I think, there's long-term planning, and I think, we have a TSP that's brand new, and that does address cycling, and it does even identify some needs in there. But there still needs to be more detailed development of that, I think. And that is what I was proposing at the last meeting, was that I would like to see the city develop a transportation plan specific for cycling and pedestrians. And that's typically a tool that's used at other municipalities to help with the funding part of it. So it all kind of loops back together. So hopefully that's helps with a little bit of perspective on things.
I think it's, as everyone knows, because I say it, I think every meeting, I'm a big fan of planning, and I think, looking at the long-term component piece and the TSP piece that would be specifically for bikes, I think that would be a really important piece to do. I think that's something that the bulk work of that is going to fall to a subcommittee, because as we know, city staff is already spread pretty thin. But I think that's a component piece, much how we went through and redid the Parks Master Plan, moving forward with that piece, even if it's a little light in details, just moving that piece forward, and not having that be another city task, because they're already tax thin. But I think I like big picture. I like to look at the whole thing, and then let's cut out a little piece, find funding for it. Cut out a little piece, find funding for it. And that's how we have to kind of get stuff done here.
Exactly. So if I could follow up on that, because the master planning is very important. And at the last meeting, in fact, it was brought up, I believe, by Coco, that our proposal for the Sharrows route is really great, and we're all big fan, at least I'm a big fan of it. And I really want to see it take the next steps forward. But it is worth considering that how does that mix in with or match up with a potential master plan? Well, we don't have a dedicated master plan for cycling and pedestrians right now, but we do have the TSP. And I think one of the points I would like to add here is that when you look at the TSP, one of the identified needs, right, is a cycling route on Commercial Street from 101 north to, I think it was 7th. So, we're right in the wheelhouse of our planning documents that we currently have. So I would like to see us further a cycling pedestrian specific master plan, but I think my opinion is that we can go forward with Sharrow's project with the TSP document that we have. It kind of fits in there, I think, with that.
Jennifer, did you have a comment?
Coco, did you want to go? I was just going to say, I agree with a lot of what Eric said. I mean, I looked at the TSP plan. I got a consolidated one, but I looked at the big 96-page one and went through that, and it has a lot of stuff in there that's not in the consolidated one. And I really do think the TSP plan is a good outline for a place to get started on doing a bike and pedestrian plan. And that was mentioned last time, and I do think it was Coco. I do like the idea about not going helter-skelter, let's build a Sherrill's road here and a bike lane there, but rather look at the overall plan for the city, and the TSP starts with that. And I think we would need to look at big arterials and collecting roads first. We'd need to consider places that people want to go when we look at that. And there are a lot of good suggestions in the TSP plan. I will tell you, after I read most of it, I came through with some ideas. And we ask about the cost already. And the TSP plan I've got is one from August of 2020. Yeah. Yeah, it's a plan for like 2020 to 2040 or something.
Yeah, I thought it was 2023.
And to tie in with the Sherrill's thing, they have a table of financially constrained improvements, which is a weird way of saying, based on the $60 million that we think we're going to get during that time period, here's the projects that we can afford. Number two, after pavement maintenance, big one, number two in that list is Mingus Park way signing, right? $50,000, 2019 dollars. But, you know, when we looked at the Sherrill plan in the bike lane, we're talking about signage to get out there. Kind of ties in with that. Number 9 on the list was downtown pedestrian crossing, improving bike pedestrian crossing across US Highway 101 to be consistent with the Front Street plan, $100,000. But that's going across on Market Street for the Sherrill's plan again. And they actually had a Sherrill's plan in here, which I didn't realize. You know, sometimes you don't realize all the work that other people have done when you start looking at things. And so they have a Sherrill's plan for North 14th Street, which provides a parallel bike route to the Coos Bay Boulevard by providing Sherrill's and wayfinding on North 14th Street for $50,000. And they have some wonderful pictures in the appendices of the Sherrill's on that street and the signage that would be used. So I think there's a lot of things in the TSP plan we could use. $2019, so they probably don't apply in 2023, but it gives us an idea. But looking at those things, if there's no money to do the Sherrill's plan from across Market Street down to Mingus Park, I think in the back of our mind, we always got to keep the idea that there may be little pieces of it we can do at a time. So if we get ODOT money to do that pedestrian crossing, maybe we can't have all the money to do the entire Sherrill's plan, but we could get the money to do that particular thing. So I think that's the other thing I think that's important about having a big plan, so that as projects come up, we can see, oh, gee, that maybe ties into our plan on bicycling. Is there a little, or pedestrian traffic, is there a little piece we can do it in? And I know, Chair, you had asked, is there a overall bike route? In that plan, this is all the actual bike routes and the proposed ones. So somebody's kind of thought through some plans already. So I was impressed with it. I think it's a good place for us to start.
Coco?
Are we at a place where we can pick one starting point to start a Sherrill's in keeping with what was presented to us in December? I would like to see if we can propose getting from Front Street to Mingus Park. And I would like to see it incorporated with the Sherrill's getting from point A to B. I think starting with it will give you data, it will give you information, and there's other things you can add. And a lot of the footprint plan has already been made, but I'm not sure if in December you were wanting to have more of a breakout group talking about that, or should we just start looking at the next steps? So that's the question that I have. Thank you.
Well, I think this dovetails into, we're just going to jump around the agenda I have in my brain today. This brings to the point that I would really like to have a work session, parks work session, that is that's 2 hours, where we can talk about a couple different things. I'd like to go over the TSP. I'd like to have the beginning discussions on a specific bike and pedestrian TSP, then have that form into a subcommittee. But I would like the entire commission to have an introduction to that piece and some of those components so that we can start moving forward, so that hopefully by this time next year, we have a plan that has, here's these projects in place, and we can budget for those as we go into the next budget year for the city. I'd like to see that. I'd also like during that time to discuss the Mingus Park Master Plan document that has Coco and Bill have been working on. That's a component piece. I'd like to not, I would like to do it where we're sitting at a table in a conference room. We used to be able to do that. I know there's a way that we can do that. However that works, but it's much easier for those discussions when we're sitting around a table having that conversation.
So we were going to, and we can, I'd like to talk to our city manager's office a little bit about that, but we were going to discuss this at the next meeting. We've been informed that even subcommittees need to be noticed and be able to be attended in a public format, both in person and online. So I will talk to see how we can do it at a table, but we're still going to have to make sure we're inclusive and we allow people to come in online and we notice it.
Yeah.
Like some of these meetings, the master plan we did,
Yeah.
the Parks Master Plan, we weren't aware that that was a law.
Yeah.
So we're working with our city manager's office to try to figure that out, and I will ask about the table.
Yeah.
We just have to be cognizant that we do have some public meeting laws we have to follow.
So we have done it before where we have the mic thing that sits in the middle of the table that can hear everybody, so not every individual is mic'd, and then it uses the video conferencing system. So however we could do it, this is a good format for information and speaking to the public and being present. But when we're going over these documents, we need to be sitting around a table. We need maps on the wall that we can look at. That's how there's got to be a way to do that. Because
I will see what I can find out. We've got Zoom to contend with, and so it might not happen by next month.
Okay, that is okay, but I'd like to figure out a way to do that. I think
We'll see what we can do.
And then also with that piece, while you're looking at it, we used to meet in a park during the good weather. We would go to each park and meet there. Whether it's somebody's got a tablet and they're holding it and with Zoom so that it can be broadcast, we can do it that way. But I would like to go back to meeting in each park, because for some of us that live in different parts of the city, we don't necessarily get into each park all the time.
Jennifer, do the public meeting requirements apply? You mentioned the subcommittees. Is the same difference with work sessions?
Our city attorney has informed us that they do.
With work sessions, so if committee members want to, or commission members want to get together and, educate themselves on some of these planning documents that already exist and things like that. So anything the commission does is part of the public meeting.
We're working through this now.
Sure.
Initially, we're told yes. Coco,
Okay,
please.
that's fine.
I think the issue, I'll give you an example. Bill and I were asked last year in March to work on getting together a master plan for Mingus Park. There had never been a master plan for Mingus Park. So we went to the library and started looking at stuff because we had no clue. That is not a public meeting. That's where two people were assigned a task and we're getting research. We didn't make any decisions. We just asked the librarian, do you have any information? However, if we start meeting and planning through the document where we want to say, what do you think? This is what I was told from the Eugene situation. You need to have an agenda and you need to invite the public. Now, whether the public wants to come to see paint dry and with the toxicity of it for a part of your master plan is their choice, but you've invited them to participate. So you have an agenda and you stick to it. That's what I was told, so.
And think of what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the city attorney prepare something, so you're not getting Jennifer's interpretation.
Yeah, and this is not like directed to
Yeah.
you.
No,
It's just
no,
a
I get it.
continued it's just when we were able to use, we used to not be allowed in here. So, when we were not allowed in here and we had to sit in the back room, it's a little bit different of an environment, and it's easier because it's all like, oh, I can't find that. Where is that? And I love sitting next to you, but sometimes it's nice to share things, and it's much more productive. And we want to make sure that we're following the rules. I don't want to like then leave the meeting and then the three of us talk and we go over stuff because I don't understand it because I'm sitting, 10 feet away from them.
So I think I have two agendas here, try to figure out how to get back to that table format and still meet public laws, and then also address the subcommittee and work session issue. And
Yeah.
I'll just be speaking through the attorney, I'll have the attorney present something.
Yeah, and if I have to like strap a camera to me so that we could do it in
I
the park.
appreciate that. Like a
Then
little-
we
like a
can,
little
we can
head
do, because
cam.
then I won't be on the camera, but if we could do it that way, I know that there are different municipalities that have made some creative alternatives to this, and there is a balance between making sure, yes, we meet all of the rules and all the regulations and everything like that, but also so that we're serving the public in the most efficient way possible.
Agreed. And if you can point me to some of those municipalities that have been able to meet in the park and
Well,
still
I don't know
meet
if they're
current.
like necessarily following
Oh,
the rules, so like, let's start with the attorney first, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the last comment I'd like to make on that, because we would want to discuss is, for example, we have an Adopt a Park pilot program, and we have 3 people that were assigned to, again, come up with a program that was never here before. We have check-in meetings because each of us were assigned something. For example, Jamie is let me say it where it's not the John Toppet's compostable dog waste station and John Toppet's trail markers. And I was assigned the Mingus Park Scout Cabin. So we have check-in meetings where we're just saying, did you do this? Did you go take the pictures? So I guess the question we would like to get immediate clarification on is that subject to public notification? Because
So we specifically use the adopted committee as the example, and
yes, because what we are doing is, if I go to Staples and I get 50 copies of how are you going to capture volunteer hours, and then we have a check-in, so I can say, hey, I got 50, this is what it costs. If you have the city of Coos Bay do this, it's going to cost them 80 cents for colored copies, and it's 20 cents less if they do black and white. But they can capture that volunteer hours to use towards grants. So these have an agenda, but they're specific to a task, not to a general outcome. So I would like that answered with the examples, because we do have check-in meetings just to see, did we do X so that we can bring it here? And with that note, I'd like to say we would like to request a standing area on your agenda for Adopt a Park updates so that we can give the adopters, the public, and other people information on what we have been doing so that it can not have to be just the round table.
that's an easy thing to do. We
Okay.
can accommodate that.
Yeah.
And I'm with you guys,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah, no,
We were
yeah.
pretty surprised by the information we received. So let us work through that, and we'll figure something out.
I mean, the old school rule is as long as there's not more than 3, but that's not the rule anymore.
A lot of things have changed after COVID.
Yeah.
Isn't the city council meeting at the fire station now, or starting to do that now?
Yes,
Are they doing the same thing then?
it's available, it's
I
on
mean, it's a
Zoom.
lot smaller. of a
noticed.
Yeah, so we could
venue.
do our work
We could-
sessions there.
We could go there.
Yes, and you know what, that's a great suggestion, but it took us 3 months to get that room going, and so this will be our first test next Tuesday. So if that works, that's a great
Because
suggestion.
we could sit at the tables there and do that. So thank you, Bill. Because like that would cover the work session pieces.
That's a fantastic suggestion.
Yeah. Because it is, the point of doing it at the or at the fire station was so that it's more informal. Because, like we're up here, like looking at people and stuff, so.
No, fantastic, I like it.
And I like the idea of holding one in the park,
Yeah.
in the parks too as well. So if the Mingus Park, for example, I can see a great example if the Mingus Park plan is all done. When that's presented, actually have the plan and go out there and hold the meeting there and be able to see, well, here's what we're thinking about doing, and actually seeing it firsthand, I think would be really good. One last comment. Coco, this was for you, because last time you asked, can mopeds be on bike lanes? And the state law says only under human power, which I thought was fascinating, but
Yeah, it changes all the time because of the technology.
So is that if the engine's off and you're just,
I don't
Foot
know.
pedaling it?
I guess it's if the engine is off and you're pushing it. Segways can be on there, the mopeds or motor scooters, mini bikes can't be anywhere. Mopeds if pushed, and the back page has got the bikes and the electric bikes and stuff as well, but,
It doesn't cover the new electric bikes, though.
yes, it does, it's on the back page.
on the back?
Switch to that, yeah. Jennifer was saving paper, she did two-sided copy. Yeah.
Right, but I think it's incomplete. It's because the electric assist bicycles have categories within themselves that aren't described here. So this is a rough outline, I would say.
And my response to Eric is that may just be the way that, because the very column all the way to the right shows the Oregon Vehicle Code that goes with those things, so we can go look and see. But my guess is when that was probably written, it was 20 miles an hour is maybe what electric bikes were doing. And as Eric said, some have throttles, some don't, some are pedal assist only. And as he mentioned too, there's a 1,000-watt requirement on the electric motor, and a lot of them have more than 1,000 watts now as well. So, but anyways, and by the way, before I put in for the position, I went and visited the parks. And it took me a long time to find the one in Windy Hill. I'm just saying. So the GPS got me to somebody's backyard, but. Yeah, exactly right next to the water. That's where I went. What's that?
Yes.
Yes, it's an east side, it's a sad little park that's got a basketball court and a tennis court and a private building, I guess, in between them. It might be a great place to have a pickleball court instead of a tennis court.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which goes back to, we're doing some deed research, because many of our parks were donated to us for a very specific use. And predominantly the ones that are currently being utilized as tennis courts, most of those had deed restrictions in them for tennis court use only. So, but there's a lot of pieces in that.
I have we're coming to the
Yeah.
end of our time here, but I have a procedural or agenda question here, because the staff report that was for the Sherrill's agenda item requested that the commission make a recommendation for preferred alternative on the bike route. What are we doing with that request?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question, so thanks, Eric, for segueing us into that.
No pun intended.
Oh, segue.
I don't have the list in front of me, so. At this point in time, staff is requesting, or is going to make the request, if it pleases the commission, to make a recommendation for a preferred alternative bike route. Based off of the conversation, I don't know if, I'll leave that up to you, but that's the request of the staff, is to make a recommendation if it's, I don't know if that's still a path in which you would like to go, but that's the question from staff. So with that, I'll leave it to the commission to make a motion, whether to continue the conversation to a work session or not.
Well, I'll offer to make my first motion of the commission that we vote on accepting the preferred alternative route from the subcommittee. Does that sound right?
And that would be moving it to the budgetary process so that we could then review the cost implications.
Correct.
So I have a first to accept the alternative route, moving it towards the budget implication phase of the process. Can I have a second? Or do I have a second? Got a second from Bill. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what we'll do is, that'll move to the budget consideration when the city has time allowable to look at potential budget implications for that.
So we'll come back next month because we had planned on having a budget discussion, our quarterly budget discussion in March, but we may want to move that up to February just because March might be too late to
Yeah.
consider the FYE 2025 budget. And with respect to that work session request, is that something you just wanted to turn this meeting into in February?
No, I think it's beneficial for us to have this meeting where we interact more formally with the public, because we always have people that come and like to give us updates and things like that, which does consume, a chunk of our agenda time. I'd like to see a good dedicated 2 hours that we could sit down and go over some of these component pieces.
Okay, would you like us to send out like some suggested times?
Well, it's, how does, can we do noon meetings? Is that a possibility? Do we need to do afternoon meetings? Do we have to end by 5? Like, what are our parameters so that it fits
As
within
long as
our
it's
city
noticed,
budget?
I don't think you really have constraints.
Okay,
That's
I
correct.
meant for city staff.
Oh, we'll work with you.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll work around the desires of the commission.
Yeah.
okay. Let's see here.
So I think what we'll do is we'll reach out and maybe get some dates and times of availability of staff and commission, and we can line out some dates to do that.
If it pleases the commission, I'd like to just pick 2 dates now, and then we can run it by city staff and see if it works, because that's, the email, pick a date time is terrible and
Perfect.
takes longer than the meeting itself. Let's see, so our February meeting is the 15th of February. Let's see, 3, 4. Do we want to do a 3 to 5 or like a noon to 2? What works best? What's everybody's schedule? What does everybody do?
I've got quite a bit of flexibility, so I don't know who might have a more limited schedule opportunities than myself, but I can probably accommodate, any choice.
Okay. No, I think we need a dedicated full 2 hours. 3. Oh, that's too much. You want 3 hours of me? How about, I'm looking at possibly February 8th. We could do 1 to 3.
I'm available.
Okay. February, that's a Thursday, February 8th, 1 to 3. 1, 2, 3. Starts at 1, and we'll go to 3 o'clock. So that's one possibility. And then we could look at maybe Tuesday that week. Tuesdays aren't good for you, right, Bill? We could do Tuesday that week, the same, 1 to 3, and see if that's a possibility.
I'm available.
Oh, no, that's a staff council.
Yeah, that's a council meeting.
Yeah.
Tuesday the 6th.
No, better not do that. That's Valentine's Day. That's Monday. It's Monday the 12th. Monday the 12th, 1 to 3. 3 to 5. 3 to 5. Monday the 12th, 3 to 5. So we'll pick those 2, February. So we'll pick those 2 dates and times. No. Okay. Okay. So we'll look at those 2 dates and times and what works best for the city, and if you'll send that out, we'll choose one of those. Or we can, no, we do both.
We'll do that.
Yeah, okay.
And if the fire station isn't available, the small conference room at the library might be as well.
Well, the small conference room isn't set up for Zoom, but the fire station is. So,
Small conference room is set up for Zoom,
okay,
because the library board holds their meetings and we Zoom in board members.
great. Thank you for that. Sorry, Zoom's been very challenging for us, so,
Yeah. And also, yes, it's okay.
but no, there's 2 options, so
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay. Yeah, we're running. I appreciate, thank you for fixing the clock. It makes my life so much easier. We will kick on down to staff, commissioner, and closing comments. We'll start down at the end. We'll start with commission first, and then I will not forget staff this time. Bev?
Nothing from me. Thank you for everybody coming.
Coco?
First of all, I want to give a shout out and congratulations to Cricket Soul and the Marshfield Historic Cemetery. They were on the news and got an award of grant funding from Pacific Power Foundation. And that was genius, because not only were they dedicating the award for the work in the cemetery itself, but the involvement of students and young people that were in there. And that highlights a perfect example of when you're looking at grants, as many volunteers or people that you can track and involve, the more opportunity you have for getting that. So congratulations on that. That was fabulous.
We also had 2 OVAP representatives there.
Yes.
Nice.
So those partnerships are important, and we are continuing on the Adopt a Park to thank the city staff for helping install some of Jamie's products for the dog compostable waste stations in John Toppett's Park. And we have some other donor items that will be listed at the next meeting. We are going to be seeing some advertising for fundraisers in John Toppett's Park. We're trying to partner with OBAB, and it will be announced on the Friday update, and it will be in February. We're looking at joining with OBAB on that John Toppett's Park to have a fundraiser where you bring your pet, you sign up, you have a little pet parade, and the donation that you give is to refill those compostable dog bags, and we can start working on the trail markers. So thank you, everybody, for your dedication and hard work. I appreciate it.
Bill? Good. Jamie?
Enjoyed my time out at Toppett's on Saturday in the rain, pulling broom, Scotch broom with Cricket.
Thank you. Kurt?
I've probably talked too much already for my first meeting, but I'm excited to be here working with you all. And I want to give a shout out to staff. When I went around and looked at all those parks, when I was thinking about applying, I was amazed at how well they've been maintained, considering the limitations that the Park Commission and the staff face. They're from the little parks to the big parks, so good job.
Thank you. Eric?
No, nothing further from me. Thank you.
All right. Jennifer?
Just want to let you know that staff and Coco met with the grant writer earlier this month to discuss submitting on an Oregon Parks grant for the Scout Cabin as well as Mingus bathrooms. And we have a follow-up meeting this next Monday.
Great. Awesome. Greg?
Well, thank you. Welcome, new commission members. I appreciate you volunteering to be here with us. I'm glad to take you, that you guys are taking it serious enough to sit up here and provide your insights. I really do appreciate it. Last commission meeting, we didn't get an opportunity to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, so that's done now. One thing I did want to kind of touch on is it was alluded to earlier, I think, Ariane, you alluded to it, the signage at parks. So I don't know if you all are aware, back last year, there was a lawsuit up in Newport that affected recreational immunity. So right now, our insurance carrier, CIS, has suggested that we provide some language to our parks. Actually, I think they suggested that we close our trails. But in lieu of that, we are working on some language for our website. And the Friday update, we did include some language that talked about recreational immunity and how that affects our parks, and some potential signage language that we're going to be putting up. So more to come on that. We do have several paths in our park system that are used by folks on a daily basis. And so we're working through that signage, and we're working through the potential signage, and then we're also working for some information on our website. And so, yeah, it just puts a little little wrinkle in our giddy up, but we're gonna be, we're gonna be working through that. Staff is working on it, so, more to come on that. I think there's a legislative session in February that will hopefully be addressing this. I don't know if they will, I don't know yet, but we may be having to present some information to the commission in the future.
Thank you so much. Lance, do you want to share? You good?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, don't want to leave you out. You good?
I'll just add that all of the communications we're sending out to the commissioners are going via the city email, and if anybody's having issues at all, I would be happy to assist.
Thank you. And we are going to wrap up here. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. And we're making massive strides in things that we're doing, and I think that's super exciting. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody's time and energy. And Cricket, you snuck in at the last minute, but is there anything you want to share quickly with us?
Well, Jamie will appreciate it. I got here like 25 minutes early, so I thought I'd give George Tinker a call.
Oh,
He talked to me for an hour.
yeah, that's George. Yeah.
But not necessarily. Usually it's so short and
Yeah.
sweet. We're
Yeah.
making headway. So with the departments sort of dividing, I don't know how Greg explained that. You're sort of, I don't know, I don't understand it, but
I have not had an opportunity to
you sort of,
explain that. Jennifer, would you,
someone explain it? Because it's useful, I think. for
Sure,
people to
sure.
know.
So we used to be called the Public Works and Community Development Department. Just with everything going on and just the growth and all of the development you see around town, we are going to be better served to split those two into two separate departments, not just one. We're still all working next to each other. We're
Well, not
still
literally.
talking, well, I know. Well, Greg and I will be part of the Public Works Department, and that is engineering, water quality, and operations. And then the community development will be the building department, and planning. And then we're also adding into that community development portion an economic revitalization specialist. I'm sorry, I might have not gotten that title exactly correct. Just to focus on economic development. So is that,
Yeah, I think that's important to know.
It's
So
a good
we
comment.
are sort of working with both sides now. So you tacitly, as a group, approved that we could go out and look for grants. So Becky works, my daughter, Becky Souls, works closely with Chelsea, who will now be, is in charge of that community development. And so that was good to know, so we'll work with both sides. So they have a CLG, Certified Local Government, and it's because they've met certain historic standards. It has not been well used, and it's not something that can put a new HVAC system into the Egyptian. It's only for restoration. So they have suggested that the cemetery just do it directly. Last year they made it a pass-through grant, and I don't know if you've received any information on that. It was a pass-through grant, which meant it's open, any things on the National Register, and some things that would be eligible for the National Register but weren't on it could apply for the grant. And we're applied. So they had to do the work of putting it all together, and then Becky did some work of doing it. So now they decided, they'll just let Becky do all the work. So that would be a $15,000 potentially, depends on how many apply, and if more communities apply, then it might not be 15,000, it might be 12,000 or 5,000. But that's what the intention is, to apply for that Certified Local Government grant, which will then need a match. And I think our next victims will be the alumni at Marshfield, just to try and reach out to them and have them begin getting that another layer of support that I think we need. The wood from the last cedar trees, were cut down. They have been sawn up and are drying, which is drying at this point in time. And with the idea that they've already, Jesse Ainsworth has already volunteered at Marshfield to help cut them in whatever kit type thing we would need, so that they could work with trio kids in the junior high to make birdhouses, some of which would go back to the cemetery to support the swallows we're trying to get in there.
that Joe Metzer is doing. And it's sort of where we're at. But the big thing too is Marshfield was incorporated in 1874. And so this year, the city of Coos Bay wants to celebrate that. I don't know if any of you have heard about them. This would be the year of the Sesquicentennial. And there, because of the changes in the Downtown Association and the Chamber of Commerce and everywhere else, they're kind of not getting going until maybe March or even April. But, by May, that's our big hit at the cemetery. So we're going to try and look at some things that don't take a lot of effort, but are sort of previews for this. I've identified the people that actually were born in 1874 or were here in 1874. Some with a very diverse history for each of those people, and try and do some things like that, and see what we can do. And I brought my Himalayan in case people didn't understand what we were trying to, what they saw in the picture. This was a winter solstice project that I did with 2 of the classes. Normally would not be red plastic straws. It's a Finnish Swedish tradition, and they would do it for solstice. And I was a little frustrated that we were only doing Christmas trees at Marshfield, that there's other cultures. So, and our largest proponent of people buried in the cemetery are Finnish, 160 people. So 2 classes made these hedrons, and they were hung over the dining room tables of Finnish and Swedish things. Himali means sky or heaven, and they would often build many more Himalis. They're really popular again, and they make them out of little grass tubes and that. So we did that with the class. They went out and put them on some of the grave sites of Finnish people who had been born in Finland, and just as another way to do marking thing. I met with the native group that meets now at Marshfield, the students that at Marshfield, to look and see how they can help assist with the taking care of the native graves there. 2 of the headstones of Annie Minor Peterson's granddaughters, grandchildren would be restored in this next partners project.
Sweet.
So we're not done yet. We've got a lot to do, and we're trying to have to do some adjustment because our contractor is getting waylaid by the weather and will not be able to do everything he thought.
Right.
So we're working on it. And if you want, especially the new ones, if you want particular tours, we actually had someone that would pedal his bicycle as he sold sewing machines throughout the county. So and he's not there anymore, but he has a big headstone. He was moved to Minnesota. And I'll tell you the rest of the story on that one too. So if there's any other questions. Also looking at the Apollo 14 moon trees situation. We still have moon trees that need to be planted out, and we're hoping that last year Mayor Benetti said we would do that. It didn't happen. So April is our
Tree
month,
month,
and hopefully we'll come up with a plan for that. So I've asked Jamie to look at property at Millicoma Marsh that we can maybe find one, and we may have some communication with Southwestern to do that, but if anyone else or knows somewhere in the park, John Toppett's probably not the best place at this moment.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cricket, for everything that you do. We truly appreciate it. And thank you for the update. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in today. I appreciate your time, energies, and efforts, and we will see you at one of the work sessions before the next Parks Commission meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank
We're
you.
adjourned.